Hey guys and girls, I'm Links123 and welcome to yet another video about Zelda. In today's video it's going to be a top 25 things you didn't know about the Zelda franchise. So some of you guys and girls out there might discover something that you never heard about from the Zelda franchise. Let's drop all the talking and jump straight into the stuff I got for you guys and girls in today's video. Let's go in. Every The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time player definitely knows the myth about receiving the Triforce because they have read on the internet a long, weird description about how to get the Triforce. You need to blow up every gossip stone, you need to do that, you need to do that, you need to have 0 bombs and blah blah blah. There is so many things you can read on the internet, which is fake news sadly, but there is no way to obtain the Triforce, but seen on very early trailers and even screenshots from Ocarina of Time when it was in its very early beta stages, you can clearly see Link receiving the Triforce by opening a chest in a mystical room and then he just gets it. We have seen screenshots of sages giving Link the Triforce, and we have seen many weird stuff appearing on the internet, even when fans was creating their own songs, trying to fool us other fans, but early screenshots made by Nintendo shows Link can actually receive the Triforce in the beta stages of Ocarina of Time. Originally, Navy Link's little annoying fairy friend was supposed to have a crush on him, taking out her jealousy on Princess Zelda and any other females Link interacted with in Ocarina of Time. Nintendo sadly cut out this idea from the game because they figure out Link had enough problems already without having to deal with girl issues. There was supposed to be a race of tiny people in Breath of the Wild that Link could visit. At one point he could shrink down and experience the world via a similar gameplay to The Legend of Zelda the Minish Cap. However, the team ultimately decided that these little people would be overshadowed by all the other characters and elements in the game, so they scrapped the idea. Sadly, because Minish Cap is definitely one of my favorite Zelda games. It could be so awesome if they managed to combine Breath of the Wild with such a huge Zelda game with this smaller game and more compact game, which is supposed to be a 2D version of a Zelda game. So it could be pretty nice if they combine these two. A good 2D Zelda game and a huge Zelda game, which is Breath of the Wild. Come on man, Nintendo, don't scrap all the great ideas. Shigeru Miyamoto was actually a big fan of first-person shooters, and Ocarina of Time almost became a first-person game, with Miyamoto wanting to challenge players to pay attention to their surroundings more than their character.
Wow!
But the first-person angle was dropped because of the developers had already created a 3D model of Link that they loved so much, and they really wanted you to see it on the screen. In an early pre-release version of The Legend of Zelda, Link starts with a sword. But because the game was so non-linear, game testers complained that they didn't know what they were supposed to do. So Miyamoto responded by taking away Link's sword and said if they complained more, he would take away their pants, not Link's pants, their actual pants. According to the Hyrule Historia, the events of Ocarina of Time causes a history split into 3 parts. One part is where Link defeats Ganon and remains in the actual time. Another one is where Link defeats Ganon and goes back in time so he remains young. And then the last one is where Link gets whooped by Ganon, which actually leads to the events in the original game, The Legend of Zelda. The mapmaker Tingle, a silly looking 35-year-old man totally in love with fairies, was not well received in the US, probably because of his very weird appearing in different games, but he is really popular in Japan. Tingle has even starred in his own games including Tingle's Balloon Fight, Too Much Tingle Pack and Color Changing Tingle's Love Balloon Trip. That's a long title. He seems really mysterious to me because you never get any backstory about him, but you see him in some few Zelda games, for example Wind Waker and Majora's Mask. And in these games, He just seems to be really weird. He even got his own dance. For some reason I love him, but he also scares me a little bit. The Princess Zelda was named after Zelda Fitzgerald, sorry if I'm not pronouncing this right, wife of Great Gatsby author F. Scott Fitzgerald. Miyamoto says he wanted the game's princess to have a mysterious quality, and Mrs. Fitzgerald fitted in perfectly. Without being so limited by the technology of older systems, the game's map in Breath of the Wild is 12 times bigger than the one in Twilight Princess, roughly the same landmass as Kyoto in Japan. In the Japanese version of one of the Final Fantasy games, you can find a grave that belongs to Link. This sounds like it was Ganon's Final Fantasy, but I really don't hope for the people of Hyrule that Link dies, because it means they dies. And it's not a good fantasy. It's not a good fantasy at all. Unsurprisingly, there have been a few Mario/Zelda crossovers in the different games. Yoshi makes an appearance in Majora's Mask, Goombas, Pokies and Piranha Plants all appear in Link's Awakening, same with the Chop Chomp, and the Warp Whistle in Super Mario 3 plays the same tune as it does in Zelda. And of course in the end of both franchises got the same plot, which is about a hero rescuing a princess who got kidnapped by an evil beast. Similarities. The Legend of Zelda originally planned to use Ravel's Bolero as its main theme, but this idea got scrapped in the last minute after realizing the song was still under copyright. Legendary composer Koji Kondo needed to come up with a replacement immediately and wrote the iconic theme in just one day. Zelda Breath of the Wild was playtested as an 8-bit game, first to test some of the newer game mechanics to see if they did work in a Zelda game. In the top-down, old-school pixel prototype, Link could chop down a tree to cross a previously impassable river or light a forest on fire. So it's pretty much a very upgraded version of the original The Legend of Zelda for the NES. Shigeru Miyamoto says that Link was modeled after Disney characters. Green tonic, pointy ears and best friends with a fairy. It seems like something that we have seen before. Which character could it be? It's definitely Peter Pan. Robin Williams, the passed away actor, was a huge fan of the Zelda franchise and had once expressed a huge interest in voicing Ganondorf in a future Zelda game. He also named his daughter after Princess Zelda, and her name is Zelda Williams. Ocarina of Time, at the time of its release, was the largest game to be created on a cartridge, so Nintendo had to create a bigger cartridge in order to fit the actual game. It's funny because the game doesn't fill anything more than 265 megabytes or something like that, and nowadays games can fill up to 50 gigabytes if so. So a lot of things have been changed in the game development, but yeah, Zelda was too big for a cartridge. Early concept art of Majora's Mask shows that the moon didn't have a haunting, scary face, but that was sadly changed, and now Majora's Mask seems to be the scariest Zelda game in the Zelda franchise. Ocarina of Time was supposed to have an expansion for its original console, the Nintendo 64. Well, at the time there was a supposed console expansion for the Nintendo 64 called the N64DD. The machine could be attached to the bottom of the Nintendo 64 and boom, there you had a much bigger and more clumsy looking console. Anyways, this expansion allowed players to experience an upgraded version of the inserted cartridge, in this case Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time would be transformed into a whole new game called Ura Zelda. Ura Zelda is an upgraded version of Ocarina of Time with new dungeons, such as an ice temple, a wind temple, and more details should be added into the game. For example, Link would leave footsteps in the sand, and Link will have more items to play with around in Hyrule. So that's basically Ura Zelda rounded up really quick. In the German version of Ocarina of Time, the carpenters you save from the Gerudo Fortress are named Paul, John, Ringo and George, after the popular old band The Beatles. In Fable 3 you can interact with a lot of different things around in the world called Albion. For example, at the graveyard you can find a grave with the text saying "It's dangerous to go alone, take this." This is a reference to an old man in the very first Zelda game that gives Link his sword saying "It's dangerous to go alone, take this." Sadly you can't get a sword by reading the grave in Fable, but it's a funny little reference also because the Fable franchise also reminds me about the Zelda franchise. In Guinness World Record Gaming Edition 2008, the Wind Waker had around 500,000 pre-orders, and at the time, 2002, was the most pre-ordered game on record. Well done. In Majora's Mask, Sakon the Thief can be murdered by Link if you shoot the stolen bump bag he got on his back with an arrow. Sakon will, for some reason, explode and, well, disappear. While Ocarina of Time began to come out in stores, 7 action figures were supposed to be released. One with young Link and a gold Skulltula, another one with the Sheik and a huge hookshot, another one with Darunia and nothing else, yet another one was a Stalfos, also having no accessories with it. For sure the last 3 ones is the Princess Zelda with the light arrows, Ganondorf with nothing else than a red cape, and the last one, but not least, Link with sword and shield. Some of these figures is remade and released 18 years after in a new form and package, but the rest is lost, sadly, because I really do love action figures, and especially from Zelda. You can find some of them, it's only Ganondorf and Link on eBay to a fair price, but Princess Zelda can't be found, the Stalfos and young Link, they are all forgotten, sadly. In both Ocarina of Time and the Wind Waker, the sword was supposed to be on the A button instead of the B button. This is seen on very early development screenshots. For some reason, Majora's Mask, which is in the middle of these two titles, had no sword on the A button, but instead had different items such as the Fairy Ocarina, Kokiri's sword, the Megaton Hammer as Gorin Link, and the hookshot as Sora Link. This seems really weird, but for some reason, Majora's Mask turns out to be slightly different than Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker. And to round everything off, I'm ending this video with something really terrifying. Breath of the Wild were supposed to have much scarier looking guardians. Just take a look at these pictures. I guess some of you guys and girls didn't knew this before, and it might shock you guys and girls a little bit, because what the hell did Nintendo think about this? If they put these creatures in the game, Breath of the Wild would definitely be the most scariest Zelda game ever. It would be Twilight Princess, it would be Majora's Mask, everything. This is scary as a really, really bad dream. Really. I couldn't even imagine these creatures being in Breath of the Wild. So that was everything for today's video, guys and girls. I hope you discovered something new about Zelda that you didn't know before. I hope you enjoyed the video so much that you want to give it a like, comment what you think in the comment section down below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see much more. Until next video, make sure to stay tuned for much more content. Have a nice day and see you next time, guys and girls. Bye.